We've got to add work experience to your resume so that people know what you've been up to and what you've been a part of. It's super important. It's one of the core areas of the resume, if not the most important part, aside from maybe the bullet points. So these are all the main areas of the resume. Professional experience in terms of work history is what we have to build out. So we will be putting this into a table. There is a lot to source and put together. Luckily, most people have an existing resume that we can work up from. There are fields in here, especially start and end, that not everybody has inside of their resume. The great thing about this is, again, we will get to reuse, repurpose, and train our LLMs, our AI models, to be able to continue to build off of this. Addressing some concerns. Why do I need to do this? Is my resume really that awful? Isn't there a faster way? Again, the reason that we want to do this is we want to make sure that we're able to train the model off of accurate data. Your resume might not be that awful, but if you're taking this course, there's a chance that it's probably pretty rough. And yes, there's always a faster way, but this is the most succinct way using LLMs, AI tools to make it faster. Again, we are training the models to build off of your existing data. We need first source data, meaning stuff that came from you that is accurate so that we don't have hallucinations or what basically in layman's terms is made up stuff entering your resume so it's inaccurate. All of the stuff that we're going to be inputting basically covers all of these areas of articulating what we do within our work history, but also future projects that we'll be building out. Just to really drive the point home, I wanted to demonstrate a real use case, and there are many, many versions of this where we are using our data inside of a prompt in order to really tailor the information to our background, our experiences, all the things that we've done. So, this is an example of where we are targeting for outreach specific job titles. Now, this is throughout the entire course. So it's super important that we actually input this stuff. So I'm just going to quickly open up this example of one singular prompt out of the dozens that are inside of this course. And we go all the way down here, and here we are. We're going to need this information, so it's important that we compile it and we put the time into it to do it properly. Now, this is that exact same prompt, but I've made a copy and I've put in my information. So when I run it, I get the tailored results specific to my background, all of my experience, so that everything is perfect. I hope this makes sense because we're going to be doing a lot of this. So please don't get lazy on this stuff. It really, really is going to help you in the future. So let's take a look at a couple of quick stats to really drive the point home. Percent of resume errors that come from mistakes in former job experience descriptions. That's a mouthful. Percent of resumes that have errors in them. Percent of resumes that don't make it past the first screening. And here are the answers. 80.4% of resumes have errors that come from mistakes in former job experience descriptions. 58% of resumes have errors in them. That's more than half. And 80% of resumes don't make it past the first screening. So it is super important that we do this accurately and well. So let's think about this metaphorically. Pretend that you're in the city center somewhere and you see advertisements for a not so nice looking boot. And if you keep seeing the same meh or not ideal product everywhere, it doesn't mean that eventually you're going to turn around and be like, you know what? I've seen enough ads. I'm ready to buy. It's the same thing with applying for thousands of jobs. If you are still the same meh candidate, you're not going to stand out in a good way. And no matter how much people see of you, they're not necessarily going to engage. So here's a real world example. I have put out many, many job openings over the span of my career. This was when I was running my agency, and these are 4 different jobs within the list of jobs that I had published. And the same person kept applying. Now, I'm not here to shame this person, but this guy basically had nothing for me to go off of. So the LinkedIn profile, super sparse, very few connections, one, if not maybe 2 total bullet points on all the jobs. No about section, no links, no activity. So it's like, all right, not a lot to go off of there. The resume was a weird WordX format, meaning I have to download it in order to view it. It was not a PDF, which is a weird hangup for HR people. The layout, super bizarre, doesn't make any sense in terms of the organization here. And there's still limited info. This is not a great resume. So no matter how many times I saw this person's resume, it was still a no. So what we're going to be doing in the next activities here is taking all of our information from either an old CV or LinkedIn, wherever you can source information, top of your head, do some digging, and we're going to build a table, and we're going to enrich some of that information, and we're going to throw it into this really nice clean table so that then we can essentially take our table and turn it into a working, living CV document that then we can create iterations of. So everything, again, is reusable, and we'll get through that stuff together. I will go over how I create drafts so that I never lose information as I'm wordsmithing or making massive changes. I create documentation of that, and I make sure to save the different versions after I make a copy of them so that I have all of the different versions. So if I need to tailor my resume in one way or another, or I've thrown out a bunch of stuff, then at least I have this stuff. Again, this will help you to stay organized, and you can train the models off of the most up-to-date stuff, which is always really helpful.